My name's Steve Sell. I work with an education nonprofit called Great Schools Partnership that's based in Portland, Maine, and we work throughout the New England region supporting schools and school districts and for a variety of different things, from community engagement work to teacher professional development. And for the past 3 years, Holyoke Public Schools has been engaged in a grant that they received through the Nellie Mae Education Foundation. They received a sum of money through that grant, and in addition to that, they received coaching support. So I was assigned as one of the coaches to Holyoke, along with colleagues from an organization called Everyday Democracy. And so together we've been working with different stakeholders within the school system, so from students to teachers to district leaders, to kind of clarify and center their work in engaging the community in ways that are more equitable. And we've also been supporting them in just thinking about what are the systems and structures they can begin to develop so that those things become sustainable, right? So with this grant, there's only about 4 or 5 months left. Our hope is going into next school year that they'll have some practices in place to continue to engage the community in more equitable and authentic ways. So there's 4 goals that have been sort of highlighted that the group is working on. And one of those goals, I think, gets at your question, and it's the need to diversify the educator workforce in Holyoke. This is an issue that I think the entire region faces when it comes to supporting student success. The need for a more diverse educator workforce is something that also the state is very invested in, and so there's some efforts in place in Holyoke to address that issue. So one of the things that we've developed this year is the creation of affinity groups for educators of color that my colleague is leading. He's a person of color, and he's beginning to lead some affinity groups, which is just a space for educators of color who are working in the system currently to come together, to collaborate, to connect, and build a stronger culture so that you're retaining existing educators, and also thinking about ways to improve recruitment of future Holyoke Public School teachers. About a month ago, I'd say actually around the beginning of January, so this was shortly after Dr. Zrike had announced that he would be resigning at the end of the year, DESE reached out to Great Schools Partnership, the organization I work for, and asked if we could support them in collecting some community input about the receiver search. And we agreed to. We felt like because we are working here and we have been able to work both with folks in the school system and also folks in the community, we have the resources and time to kind of add this to our plate, and we also feel like it's significant. As we think about like the work we've been doing, it's all about sustaining the work beyond my time here. So it feels like it makes a lot of sense for us to support any efforts that are about like informing decisions as important as who the new receiver is. And part of the work that we'll be doing is we'll be hosting a couple of community forums. So there'll be one this evening, February 3rd. There's one Thursday, February 13th. We're also going to be administering surveys to community members, staff members, and students. So the surveys will be, and in fact the community and staff surveys are open now, and they'll be open for the next 2 weeks, so from today all the way through February 17th. And people can find those at the Holyoke Public Schools website. They may have also received it through other means, like I think they're going to use robocalls, and they're posting it on social media as well. And then the students will have an opportunity to share their voices on the surveys during the week of February 10th. So every 6th through 12th grade student in Holyoke will have the chance during the week of February 10th to fill out this survey. And so we're really hoping to hear from as many people as possible. Part of the plan here is that through the surveys and through these focus group convenings, where we're going to be able to ask questions to different stakeholders over the next couple of weeks, we'll have a very strong sense of what the people in Holyoke want to see in terms of the skills and attributes of the new receiver, and what skills and knowledge they feel will be important for a new receiver or a new superintendent to have coming into the Holyoke Public Schools. And then DESE will use that information to align its search to make sure that they select a candidate who is in line with the voices of the people of Holyoke. So one way would be to come to one of the community forums. So and also, even if you don't have access to internet, sometimes people don't like to fill out a survey, right? They feel like you're responding to pre-selected questions, right? And that may limit what you want to say. And so one thing I would say is come out to one of the forums, right? And that would be an opportunity to get at some of the more nuanced kind of discussions that people probably want to have around this issue. If you don't have access to the survey and you do want to fill out the survey, we are looking at some ways in which we can provide paper copies at different places throughout Holyoke. We don't have a plan yet for that as far as like where those places will be, but we have talked about things, for example, like utilizing some of the family welcome centers in the schools and providing the staff there with paper versions of the surveys, and people could take it that way. So if you don't have access to technology, you could certainly use that as a means to have your voice heard. So what I would say right now is, since we don't have a set plan as far as where those places will be, maybe that's something we can follow up on, and because I think that that's a really good question and something that we want to make sure we address, so that anybody that wants to express their voice about this is able to. Throughout the time I've worked here, I've just been really taken by the advocacy that I see on part of people working in the school system and also people in the community. And it's just another example of this process of the receiver search, of just seeing how much people want to make sure their voice is heard. And I think that's the thing about Holyoke that's truly remarkable. I think it makes sense that you would want to make sure that you have some say in the state making a decision like this, but I think that this is a great opportunity for the people of Holyoke to make sure that that their voice is heard, and that the person who comes in really represents the wishes of the people who are here, the kids that are in the system, the people who have been working hard in the school system here to make changes, and so it's something that I'm really excited about, and I hope that at the end of this process, when we look back on it and we see who DESE selects, that we'll feel like the voices that people express throughout the surveys and the focus groups had something to do with that in a positive way.